Remember when that little girl in Poltergeist said, "It's Mac"? Well, that's what I got to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene of the 14th Congressional District down in Georgia. Is she's back. And what is she doing? She decides to create an American First Caucus. America First. It seems innocent enough, don't it? I mean, America at first, putting your interests before everybody else. I mean, it doesn't seem all that controversial when you first hear it. However, there's a context to it. In 2016, Donald Trump ran for president, and unfortunately, he won. But when he was running in the primaries and running during the election after he got the nomination, he was talking about America first. And there's two ways you can look at America first. As I said, you can look at America first in a benign way, meaning that you're going to love your country and you're obviously going to look out for what is best for your country. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that as long as you're not harming innocents abroad. There's nothing wrong with that. Looking out for your own interests. Every society has a right to do that. Not want to go and you know demonize that. But then there's the dark side of America first, and that's what I want to emphasize: the dark side. Now, as I said, you can love your country, you can be patriotic to your country. Nothing wrong with that. But then there's a where patriotism turn into strident nationalism is where it gets just a little creepy. If you want to look at historically historically at countries that took it a step further than it needed to, we'll start with and when I say benign, they're not benign, but it's probably benign compared to the worst thing. You can look at Mussolini's Italy. You can look at Spain under Franco. You can look at Portugal under Salazar. You can look at Chile under Pinochet. Today, Bolsonaro in Brazil, Duarte in the Philippines. You can look at these societies. There were strong right wing governments, but those governments, their racism was not the central component the way it was under Adolf Hitler in Germany, for example, where National Socialism aimed to wipe out what he considered the lesser races, and that's where it gets really disturbing. Well, the America First came into being prior to World War II. There was an organization called the American First Committee. It had fascist elements for sure, but also it was probably mostly conservative right wing leaning, like regular right wing conservative leaning. That's not particularly racialized. That where they favor isolationism, and that middle group there. I'm not. I disagree with their anti FDR, anti New Deal attitudes, and their pro industrialism and everything. However, I not all of them were, let's say, fascists. Even Norman Thomas from the Socialist Party of America was a member of the American First Committee out of the concern about getting too involved and too trigger happy over war. And there's certainly nothing particularly uh, controversial about that. But let me go further. Once World War II started, when Japan invaded, and when Japan invaded Pearl Harbor, and then the war started, well, you know what happened? Um, the American First Committee dissolved itself, and it was within our national interest to defeat Hitler, and it was a good thing that we did. But America First resurfaced today. As I said, is and for various reasons, but it's mostly today affiliated with the alt right in exactly the same way that America First Committee kind of orbited around the alt right of their days. Certain fascist elements. Not saying everybody back then were fascists that were with the American First Committee, but it there was suspicious personalities affiliated with it. Um, Today, there's less debate about it. Today, it's for damn sure. And a lot of people from the alt right, Richard Spencer and company, they are all about this America First attitudes. Um, well, if you do not believe that, if you do not believe that the alt right and America First and a new fascist movement is on the is rearing its ugly head again. Go back to the year 2018, February 8th. Allison Krim uh, Cameratora, I believe that's her name, from CNN, interviewed Arthur Jones, who sought the Republican nomination for U.S. House of Representatives in Illinois' third district. If you don't know who Arthur Jones is, he is a neo-Nazi, and so she decided to interview him. And well, you'll listen to this interview, and if you don't believe me about the American First Committee or America First being, you know, ringing true of fascist sensibilities, just hear this out.
Formal basis.
But do you call yourself a Nazi?
I don't call myself a Nazi. I call myself an American patriot and statesman.
Okay, well, let me give our viewers some details about this, just so they can decide for themselves. You've been part of anti-Semitic groups since the 1970s. You go to neo-Nazi rallies. We have pictures of you there. Were part of the White People's Party. You dress in Nazi garb and you celebrate Hitler's birthday. You're a Nazi.
Well, I do not belong to any formal National Socialist organization anymore, and I haven't belonged to one since about 1990, okay? The only organization that I belong to is my own organization, and that's the America First Committee, okay?
Okay, so there you have it. He belongs to the American First Committee, his own organization, and he claims that he doesn't belong to any National Socialist organizations anymore. But he goes around at these rallies and still wearing the uniforms and all of that. So what could that tell you? But anyway, let me go on about this whole alt right nonsense. Marjorie Taylor Greene got elected to Congress in just a few months ago. No, this past November 2020, and she basically, I mean, she represents the 14th congressional district in northwestern Georgia. Republican nominee. This woman has a lot of baggage. QAnon. She's a supporter of QAnon. She's a 9/11 truther. She believed that 9/11 was an inside job. She basically on Facebook agreed to the notion that Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton ought to be rounded up and executed. She believes that. Let's see, what do we got here? She also believed that a Jewish satellite, I believe, connected with the Rothschild family, the company, were shooting laser beams from outer space into the California forest to cause these wild, large, massive fires in the state of California. So she's a real nut job. She was complicit in the the Capitol riots on January 6th, kind of leading these people on where to go and everything like that, causing a silly attempt to overthrow the U.S. government, and it was silly. She been denied her committee assignments in Congress because of what she's done and everything, and she really has no business in Congress. And here's the thing about it: if she was as nasty as she is politically and didn't hurt anybody or attempted to hurt anybody or attempted to do an overthrow of the government, while she's very unpleasant, she would have a right to serve in Congress and serve in these committees. May not like it, she would have to. But this is the thing. She is a violent person. She 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 desired seeing political opponents that she didn't agree with murdered, and she was, as I said, she committed treason. But with this Capitol riot that took place of just a few months ago, she should be removed from Congress. Now, I don't like Steve Scalise, and I don't like former Congressman Steve King either. But you know what? They didn't. They didn't. As far as I know, they had nothing to do with the Capitol riots. And Steve King basically made comments in the past like he doesn't see anything particularly wrong with white supremacy as a term. And Steve Scalise of Louisiana basically bragged that he was David Duke without the baggage. So they're garbage too. But what's very alarming about her is not only does she want to go murder Nancy Pelosi and murder Barack Obama and murder Hillary Clinton, she also wants to murder people like me. And this commercial here, well, you'll see what she wants to do to socialists. Crazy music.
I'm Marjorie Greene, and I approve this ad. America's the greatest country in the world. We need conservatives in Washington that will keep it that way. I'm running to stop gun control. Open borders. The Green New Deal. And socialism. Democrats fight for their socialist agenda every single day. I'll fight even harder to stop them. I'm Marjorie Greene, Republican for Congress. Save America, stop socialism.
What socialism, Marjorie Taylor Greene? What socialism? When I see Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, I see a 1970 style Rockefeller republicanism is what I see, or 1980s moderate Ronald Reagan republicanism is what I see. I don't see any socialism. Where is the socialism, Marjorie Taylor Greene? You stupid hillbilly. I mean, anyway, this person decided to create an American First Caucus. And she decided to do this along with Congressman Paul Gosar, Arizona, and Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida. Well, the thing about it is, this caucus that she's trying to create, and I think that I heard that they're not going to pursue this caucus because there's been a lot of backlash against them, but I'll explain that in a minute. But this caucus that she was attempting to create was to promote Anglo-Saxon traditionalism. You know who else likes to promote Anglo-Saxon traditionalism? The Ku Klux Klan. Now, okay, hear me out. If Anglo-Saxon is a thing, and there's nothing inherently wrong with being Anglo-Saxon. There's nothing inherently wrong with being, Latin. There's nothing wrong with being, African. There's nothing wrong with being Asian. There's nothing wrong with being Aborigine. There's nothing wrong with being, whatever you're born in life, whatever your genetics and DNA, all that, that's who you are. We're all equal. Human race, we're all one human race. We have shades of colors and we have differences as far as physical features, but we're all human beings and we're all equal. I want to get that out of the way. There's nothing, but the thing about it is that this was one hell of a dog whistle to promote Anglo-Saxon traditionalism. It's a little more bold than some of the others I've heard in the last, in the last half century that you keep hearing over and over again. When I hear talk radio show hosts like your Rush Limbaughs out there and your Sean Hannity's and your Mark Levin's and all of these folks coming with things like Democrat run cities. And we all know what they mean when they say Democrat run city. That's a dog whistle for blacks, African Americans. They want you to, they're not saying it, but what they're saying that these are the Detroits and the Chicagos and the New Yorks out there is just an urban Haiti. And because everybody know what a dysfunctional society Haiti is, they want you to think that these large cities across the country that has big representation of African Americans in their population, they're trying to make you think, well, obviously they can't run anything. That's what they want you to think. So they use the term Democrat run city. It's their way of saying those black people. That's really what they mean when they say that. And when their reaction is you bring it up to them, their reaction is like, oh, I didn't even notice they're blacks. I'm just talking about them being Democrats. Or they'll get indignant and be like, how dare you call me a racist? How dare you? That's how these people are. Or here's another one, globalism. Globalism or George Soros or New York values. Those are usually code words for Jews. Jews, Jews, Jews. And while I don't like Donald Trump, and and I don't like Ted Cruz, seeing them fight in the 2016 primaries, Ted Cruz decided to use that trope about New York values against Donald Trump. At one of the rare moments, I'll say, well, Donald Trump basically burned Ted Cruz a new asshole when he responded about that, and it's because Donald Trump, being from New York, he took exception to that, and he took exception to the fact that he has Jewish relatives in his family, his in-laws, his son-in-law is Jewish, and his daughter converted to Judaism, and so he took exception to that, and you don't have to like Donald Trump, but you can show a little bit of empathy as far as the battle between him and Ted Cruz. And actually, when it comes right down to policy, as horrible as Donald Trump is, I will tell you all day long, Ted Cruz is worse. Ted Cruz is worse. Or here's one, I hear Sean Hannity use this quite a bit when slamming on Nancy Pelosi. San Francisco values. He doesn't mean necessarily. Oh, I know he means that he doesn't like Nancy Pelosi, but he really means San Francisco values. The gays, the LGBTQ community. Times have changed because you can't get away. It's a public relations disaster. You say those gay people over there are destroying the country, so you kind of sugarcoat it and say, well, San Francisco values, and so it's another trope that's being used. Um, well, Congressman Adam Kilzinger from the 16th congressional district of Illinois, a relatively moderate Republican, for what I found out. I think he is anyway. He calls for an expulsion of Marjorie Taylor Greene, Paul Gosar, and Matt Gaetz, and he referred to the American First caucus as a white supremacy caucus. And he formed an organization called First PAC, which is calling for moderation within the Republican Party. Because he's realizing that the Republican brand has been really damaged goods for the last several years, probably going back to the Tea Party days with Obama and not that even Republican Party's been using dog whistles for years. They've been getting bolder and bolder and bolder. If this keeps up, they're gonna outright sound like they're gonna outright sound like something worse than Lester Maddox, George Wallace, if they keep going on about that. Let's see. The America First platform. Now, there's like 7 parts to this platform. And I will mention what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to mention the first 2. I'm going to go from I don't want to give them any credibility by saying anything that's even positive, but I'm going to go from the least bad to the really really horrible. So getting back, when I say the least bad, the first least bad will probably be the best part, and that is peace talks with Russia and North Korea. Hey, I agree with peace talks with Russia and North Korea. I don't believe the United States should sit there and try to rattle saber around the world the way they have done historically. So if they mean that, that's probably the only good thing in their 7-point platform. And then here's the next one: shrink government. Now, it's bad, but it's not like evil, dark bad. It's more like your typical Republican, garden variety Republican talking points. Go ahead and shrink government, shrink government. Now, it would be okay if part of it means taking on the military industrial complex and having that humbled, having the government stop spying on people since 2001 with the Patriot Act. If it would mean things like ending corporate welfare, if it would mean these things, I'll listen. But unfortunately, I think shrink government means slashing Social Security, slashing Medicare, slashing public expenditures like infrastructure, things, public services, and entitlements that a functioning society needs to actually function. Now, here's where it gets really, really terrible. To forbid asylum seekers from all these neocon wars that taken place all these years. You have people coming into this country. If we wouldn't be involved with these wars and stop, if we wouldn't be going around droning over there and invading other countries over there, and actually getting the United States wedged in Middle Eastern politics over there, we wouldn't have all these people trying to come here, escaping what's been going on over there and halfway across the world. Oppose all international agreements on climate change. So it obviously means that they oppose the Paris Accord and they resent Biden going back into the Paris Accord, which is one of the areas where Biden, I'm like from a leftist standpoint, I'm for Biden in that regard. I am for the United States getting back into the Paris Accord to go and try to do something about this climate change that we have. It's a real serious situation. Um, they want to force patriotism in the schools. In other words, to teach American history from a nationalistic and right wing perspective of America doing no wrong. That's problematic too. They want to end the lockdowns and all the public safety measures that's in around right now to try to slow down and hopefully stop COVID, because some of these people think that COVID is a hoax, and they have politicized it. And the granddaddy of them all is this crazy notion that Trump really won the election. Trump won this election, and there's just no way that Donald Trump could lose this election, and that Joe Biden and on the Democrats just cheated their way into this election. All elections, and Democrats and Republicans alike, there's always infractions. You always have people that would do little sneaky things and do a lot of fraud or what have you. They all do it on both sides. But I do not believe that Joe Biden and you know engage and the Democratic Party engage in massive voter fraud. I refuse to believe that. Um, as I said, do Democrats cheat? Yes. Do Republicans cheat? Yes. Both sides cheat, but not to the level that these people are claiming. Anyway, that's what I have to say right now. And just this this crazy woman, they're getting very bold. I mean, with her creating an American First Caucus. Now, my understanding is that she decided to scrap this project because of the bad publicity. And I think that she's probably getting some pressure from Republicans. Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy is. Yeah, I think that he is probably applying some pressure, and probably going to go and try to make an example out of her in whatever way or capacity. So I think she's going to probably looks like she's going to scrap it. But the thing about it is, she's got to go, man. She really's got to go. She is bad news. Um, as I said before, when you make Michelle Bachmann and Sarah Palin look very reasonable, you know you fucked up. But anyway, if you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, that's fine. Comment anyway. Um, Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you that if you're passionate about something, create your platform and utilize it, because we're the muckrakers of our time. And most importantly, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you're kept up to date with my meanderings. And until next time, I am American Social Democracy. Peace and class struggle yesterday, class struggle today, class struggle tomorrow, until we have full economic and social justice for all.